everybody, and welcome back to the NLC. We're getting ready to go into our fourth and final game of the day. This is going to be UniQ taking on Verdant. Without further ado, I'm just going to throw it straight to you, Aragon. I want you to talk about these teams, talk about these players. What are we expecting coming into this game?
Right, so what we're probably expecting is, it's incredibly difficult because I want to isolate roles. I want to isolate, but I don't want to pick on them. But I think Nihu's, I want to see him on a weak side top laner, and I feel like that's the identity they're going for as well, because I don't think Nihu's is performing too well. And on the flip side, we have Nili on carries all the time because I think he's the best performing member of Verdant, like constantly. He's 1v9ing, he's making insane plays, he's making a case for himself as the best top laner in the league, surprisingly enough. I didn't have him rated that highly, so I'm incredibly impressed. On the other side, right, you have, for the side of UniQ, I've been impressed with Paul227. He gets memed a bit for his name, but I think he's an amazing name, and I also think he's playing really well, so yeah. Does look like we're going to see some bans out now, some Sejuani banned, Karma bans. I think this Karma ban's incredibly good versus Nihu's because he has actually played cut top and does look like a flex pick for them. It also makes Nihu's have more of a Stonewall lane phase, which he can't lose as easily. Granted, he did lose versus Fjumpun, but Fjumpun also looks really good. Some bans coming in for Verdant. Renekton makes a lot of sense. Renekton counters a lot of Nili's picks. Nili is your typical, I don't know if you know the archetype of player. In top lane, you have archetypes of players, and you have like the Jax, the Aurelia, the Fiora, the Camille kind of players. And Nili's one of those. And Renekton dumps on all those champions. So there's like some bans coming forward to help out Nili 1v9 here.
Alrighty, well, let's see what this is going to be looking like. It actually looks like we're going to see... well, I'm curious what actually we are going to see in this game, because the Elise has been open. She's been banned all day, interestingly. So maybe we do see someone look to pick that up. I can't remember if Tax actually plays Elise. I followed this guy for a very, very long time. The answer is yes, he does play. Oh my god, of course he plays Elise, because he used to flame him. He used to play Xin on Elise, and he used to run it every game. I don't know why. He had like this stage. It was back when you were playing. I remember he'd always just like turbo into it at level 3 on Elise for a while. He did fix that, by the way. I'll keep off him on that one. But it was something that he was playing for a little while. Interesting to see like the Zeri, the Sivirs are up and open still, but this team's actually opting away from that, going for the Varus here for Cryex. And actually, Antwer going to get his hands on the Wukong. You look troubled or maybe a little bit confused, Aragon. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, okay. So I've been talking to a lot of coaches and junglers, and a lot of them say like Wukong's okay, but he really struggles into some of the meta, like Elise, right? Because Elise can just be a massive pain. Wukong, I believe, has like really isn't great into AP junglers because of like his passive giving armor and stuff like this, and low base MR. So it's really curious that they pick Wukong into Elise and leave Elise open if this is their plan. I would have personally banned it. I think Elise is like probably the best jungler on the patch, which is why we've seen it permabanned. Standard takeaways after this, though, we have Zeri plus a Lulu. Alternate takeaways you could have taken were like perm pushing bot lane with that Elise, but I guess Ashe is taken away, and some of those long range champions are taken away, like that Varus. So just opting into some of that scaling. Zeri's insane, to be honest. I think so far I'm on board with Verdant's draft because they have some of just the best picks in the game at the moment with Elise, with Zeri and Lulu.
Locking in the Soraka here for Pedersen. So going full like survivability, the big kind of enchantment. Obviously, Elise is very bursting up front heavy with her damage. Once that damage has worn off, a quick wish makes Elise kind of feel a little bit silly. Obviously, depending on who Taxa decides to focus if he does jump on Pedersen. Seeing the Jax, it's been pretty much permabanned from Red Side ban 2. This is like normally their first ban of the second ban phase is the Jax. We've seen, I think it's 100% today on that side of the map. We'll see what the next things are going to be. Syndra, interesting ban actually. I feel like Syndra Elise is really terrifying. Something as well, which is a old school top lane duo with this Elise is the Renekton. It makes those dives really, really scary. Fiora banned away here. Renekton has been left open, and I know Nili has it in his wheelhouse. So there is an option where they could just go for that and look for this disgusting dive team.
Yeah, I think Camille's open, so maybe Ornn isn't to be priored here. But I'm looking at blind picks and Nihu's because honestly, I think you just give counter pick to Paul, because Paul's been performing way better than Nihu's, and you just blind pick something, Ornn, something like his Cassante, and you just take it. The Syndra ban is not that surprising because Syndra was like, when she was prio picked, she was picked because of Zeri. You Syndra ultimate the Zeri, then you just scatter the weak, and Zeri will get hit and die, right? There's the Ornn ban. They see, they smell the Fiora ban equals Ornn. Okay, guys, it's okay. We still have Cassante as our blind pick tank. And now I can imagine they lock in the Cassante and get answered with a Camille.
Yeah, you'd assume something like that. And I mean, the Camille's still pretty good at that like dive as the Renekton was as well.
Yeah.
So there is that potential for that very early dive because Elise jumps in, takes aggro, does her upfront burst, and then just repels up and Camille finishes up. You got the easy lockdown with the hook shot as well. We'll see what they decide to go for because they could look towards, something a little bit more traditional and just like tanky to kind of run up in this top lane. Obviously with the Ornn band away, can't really go towards that, but the expectation is we are going to see this Camille. They do lock it in and now looking towards Errol's mid lane pick. I'm curious what he's going to pick up. Obviously the Azir has been banned away. Syndra also banned out there, so see what he does decide to look to play blind into the mid lane here. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Obviously, you do have the AP jungler, but the Jace mid, they are very AD loaded, this team, on that front.
I think it's a bit better than last game, though. Typically, you do want to pair off these AP junglers with AD champions. There's been a rise of AD mid laners. Stuff like Tristana has been seeing play. Same with Jace. And I think this pickup's okay. I think Zeri plus Elise is definitely enough AP. I really like the look of this Elise as a bridge to get to the scaling of the Zeri Lulu plus Camille and Jace. On the flip side, now that you have that Akali into the Jace, which is curious, you will get bullied out. I really dislike this Akali pick. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't understand this Akali pick at all. You get bullied in lane, and then you can't play team fights because you're against Lulu, which is like the Akali counter. Yeah. Often teams will not pick Akali if Lulu is up. So really curious from Paul. Have to see how it pans out, but I'm not a fan.
No, I'm not a massive fan of that on that front as well, but we'll see how this game goes down. Let's talk about the overall draft, though, and what has been put together. What are Verdant looking to do? What are UniQ looking to do? Kind of break this down for me. What am I expecting in this game?
So I want to start with this Elise pick because it's the first time we've seen her today. Typically, right now, why Elise Prio is so much higher and why they think that she's the best champion right now is because you score scaling across the map and then use Elise as a bridge to get to the mid and late game because she can just run amok and be a menace the entire early game. She can secure neutral objectives. She can invade with priority. She might not get priority this game. I can't remember the draft on the side. The screen just disappeared, which is really unfortunate. But if she has priority bot side, she can invade bot lane, really be a pain in this Wukong, and just essentially stop them from scaling whilst guaranteeing security and scaling herself for her team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be an interesting one to see that. Obviously, like you said, the Wukong could be in for a pretty rough time. I just trying to run my brain through what they had on the side of Vanir. Do they have like hard engage other than just like Elise Cocoon, or am I crazy? I'm trying to remember who else who was their top laner.
Verdant have Camille, so that's a good level of engage.
Yeah,
but it's hard to engage purely as Camille.
Yeah. She's more follow up or pick.
Yeah, I think it's difficult.
Yeah, I feel like this has been like almost like a key thing we've seen, and I don't know if it's just a patch or if it's just the NLC, but I think all of our games today have been distinctly lacking like that hard engage. Like you've had like non-committal engage like Ashar or follow up or pick kind of potential, but I don't think we've had like we haven't had your Ornns, you haven't had like you don't really see him anymore, but like Malphite, you're like this is the go button, and I guess that's partly down to the bot lane meta in the sense that like you don't really see your Leonas here. Obviously we have Nautilus in the previous game, but like you don't really see those kind of like hard engage supports as often nowadays. I know there's a patch going on. The next patch, the live patch for us on playing at home, but also coming soon to the NLC, does change some of these bot lane supports. But if you follow Walks on Twitter, he put a big old thread out about why he actually doesn't really think it really changes much for bot lane and the state of bot lane. So it's quite an interesting read. But it seems like the consensus right now is like Leona isn't back.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. I think bot lane priority is still just as important. They're probably going to have to cut it again. Paul might just face check here. There's no way he starts Cocoon. Cocoon is too dangerous to start because it slows down your clear too much. That's why Elise did not throw out a Cocoon here. They are relying on him face checking, and he does. And Taxa is just going to take the L in terms of clear and take that first blood. It does look like the consolation prize is a ward on that red buff, so they can see if Elise does a 3-camp into an invade or a 3-camp into a bot lane gank. Doubt that's going to happen. Just going to be an invade, probably.
Yeah. quick technical issue. We'll be back into game nice and quick. But yeah, that was rough. That was rough for Paul. You know, you were saying he's the glimmering hope of the team, and starts by going down. And I think a bit worse for News there is the first blood went to Nilly. So Nilly goes back to base, grabs himself a longsword, grabs an extra pot as well. And, you know, it just has a little bit more safety, a little bit more comfort in this lane. Now, for Kevo, obviously being a short-range Zeri, he has to walk through what is going to be, you know, a bit of poke coming in from these two. There is a lot of range right now for UniQ. So this level, this early game is going to be a little bit harder for them to deal with. As Production just trying to find those Qs to get some health back after that trade.
Yeah, Varus going to find that priority. Looking across the map, though, if I'm the side of UniQ, I am never even smelling top. I'm not going anywhere near top, not sniffing it at all, because when you're playing Cassante into Camille, you're essentially saying, you know what, I'm going to hold you as long as I can, but I will get outscaled at, for example, Divine Sunderer. Maybe I can find some teamfight access. But now that Camille's already accelerated again with that longsword, getting a kill is just going to even out the top lane a bit more to eventually be outscaled anyway, right? So yeah. I think everything we're going to see right now is probably ganks onto this Jace again. This is, once again, just like in that Ruddy game, Jace is incredibly susceptible to ganks. So I would imagine at level 6, Antwer is going to go with this Wukong ult and try to dive that Jace mid lane. Not dive onto tower, but just dash onto him, try to spin, burst him down with that Kali. Until then, though, I would imagine Taxa is going to try and mess with Antwer in the jungle because he does win in that isolation and have the tools to do that early.
So interesting seeing the difference in the build here between... oh, hold on, Errol.
Paul.
Whew, that was scary for him. Paul definitely being that glimmering hope. It's interesting to see, you know, when we had our Jace in game... Was that last game? I don't know. We had a Jace in our previous game. They went for the phase rush over the Kleptomancy. Yeah. Not Kleptomancy. The old one.
You're really showing your age today, huh?
It's been one of those days, yeah. He's gone for the first strike. That's the one.
Exactly.
Obviously, you're in a melee matchup versus, you know, your range capability, so you're more likely to be able to proc it. Hence why that has been the pickup here. And Taxa will spot out Antwer on the crab here. And like you're saying, because he started Cocoon, his clear has been significantly hit. So he is actually a little bit of tempo behind Antwer right now. And has now got that level 3, so he's fine, but it definitely did take a hit for that. And his team obviously going to have to play a little bit slower off the back of their release, has got this kind of first clear, ever so slower. Yes, it's brought a lot of power for their top lane, but ultimately it's still a problem. I say that.
Yeah, and this is the dilemma. This is the dilemma, rather, that UniQ have, in that their engage is really bad, right? Their setup is really bad early game, and Wukong wants to play early. Find ganks, use that priority early, find something, but Soraka just has no setup. So ultimately, Antwer's just going to get chunked a little, Kevo's going to get chunked a little, and they're just going to go back to farming. They have to... You can see Taxa is trying to rely on some engage, some overcommittal to maybe make a counter gank happen. But this is what Verdant want. Verdant significantly outscale in terms of team fight, and this Elise is just sitting there to be insurance that their bot lane does not fall behind.
Yes, but at the same time, like, Kyra and Pedersen are very much aware of this Elise.
Yeah.
And are just going to play this nice and safe. Now they've lost complete vision. Taxa is going to walk out. Did he just cocoon a minion? He's under tower! Oh.
Okay, so I think the idea there was that he smites a minion and cocoons behind it, kind of like you do with a Lee Sin Q, but it didn't quite work. Also, on top of that, he was silenced, so I believe there was like some weird delay there, like he just couldn't do it properly, and then he just has to, you know, lick his wounds and run away. Ultimately, do you really lose much? You're a bit delayed on your second rotation camps, but at the end of the day, you're really not too worried.
It's one of those really weird ones. Like you don't play into Soraka that much, so when you do play into her, it sucks. It feels so rough. Like, you kind of forget about the silence. And you're like, oh, God, that ability is so annoying. Because it's instant as well. There's no travel time. It just appears at your feet. And then you're silent.
I hate that ability so much.
It's an irritating ability when you're not used to it. I mean, you're a top laner, so you don't really see it as much.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Yes, actually, you had the Soraka top phase, didn't you? Not you personally.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, sometimes, but yeah, no one likes Soraka top, especially when it's there. But even if you're like, eventually everyone team fights, right? And you just try to run down the Soraka, he silences you. I play spellcasters mainly, right? Like, think about how I'm in Renekton, right? And everything's cooldown based. So you try to jump on the Soraka and you can't use your cooldowns. You're just sitting there.
Dude,
you know? It's rough.
I'm a LeBlanc player. Like, I know it's rough. Worse. Wing forward, silenced. Cool. That's me done, I guess. Like, oh.
Brutal.
Or even worse, full combo, heal comes in. Okay, right, I'm done then.
Yeah, and honestly, talking about that heal, right, just bring it back to this game. That heal, I mean, we could look at it in another way, and that it's actually a pretty effective tool against this Jace poke, right? So whether or not they drafted that with that in mind, you know, at team fights, oh, maybe the carry got poked, it's okay, we have a Soraka ambulance, we're going to heal it back up, right? Because a lot of playing against Jace is having people to tank, but also having sustain. And they have the K'Sante to tank, potentially, the Jace EQs, and then also the sustain to back that up. So I think they found a decent counter into Errol's Jace here in terms of team fighting. But whether or not it plays out like that, whether or not Errol manages to find EQs onto Peterson instead, these chunks are really nasty. Well played to Clyde there.
Yeah, lovely little slow actually coming in. Kevo earlier did throw out a nice little W as well. We've got a little bit more poke off. As we are seeing Taxa, you know, finally he's feeling a bit more comfortable. He's level 5. He's able to clear through these camps at a much more accelerated pace than he started the game on, but did waste a lot of time bot lane. Luckily, still Elise still has insanely fast clear, so is able to just clear out the camps and head back into the jungle, but definitely feeling the pain a little bit on that amount of wasted time. Errol's going to get himself the blue buff. He's going to be able to keep him in lane, and Paul doing a pretty good job considering the matchup he's in. Because yes, it gets to a point later where Paul will be a real threat to Errol, but for now, in the isolated lane, in the 1v1, Errol just plays at range and is just a complete nuisance where he's going to be able to constantly poke and prod and just clear waves away from Paul. And Paul is just going to have to take the punishment really in this lane.
No, 100%. And also props to Nihus. I was kind of saying how I wasn't impressed by Nihus the split much, but he was down a longsword and multiple potions, and he's still holding his own. Yes, he's down 10 CS, but considering the lead that nearly was handed level 1 because of Paul's like face check, I think he's doing really well, and I'm kind of impressed. Yeah. Lots of poke down onto Kevo. We are at Rift Herald, so both bot lanes shifting up on time. This might just turn into a full-on bloodbath.
Yeah, this could get brutal. The problem is for Kevo is, you know, he's actually taken quite a lot of damage already, so he's going to have to use that heal. The Wild Growth isn't available to Cly as well, which is the big thing. Same for the Wish, though, onto Pedersen, so haven't got that to work with. Paul is going to eat a little bit of damage. Does dodge away there on the Spiderling with the Shuriken flip. This is getting close. Pedersen heavily chunked out. The smite comes down. It's picked up by Taxa. He is able to pick it up, but no one's going to get the eye. The chains go down. There's the Wish. Level 6 has come in. Nilly taking a whole heap of damage. And West slides in. Paul goes down. Cly able to just about limp away from this one. And look at the damage. Kyra, everybody's blinking hail spells. Kyra getting chased onto. Kevin tries to jump forward. Can't able to do so. The silence is huge. Nilly survives. Cly still not 6 to save the day for his team. Herald secured on 3 kills for Verdant, but they don't pick up the eye.
And this must be the worst feeling in the world for the side of UniQ. Everyone living on 100 HP or less. Massive pickup for Verdant there. They managed to pick up the Herald. Wait, no one got Herald.
No. So Taxa smited it, and UniQ absolutely body blocked them from getting anywhere near it.
Small consolation prize, not letting them get the Herald, but not what you want to see. So close every single time. Paul trying to make it work. Unfortunately, doesn't quite have the damage on the Hextech Alternator. Leaves everyone at 1 HP. Everyone flashing out. And then you have all the dive from Antwerp not being enough to get through those shields from Lulu and the Wild Growth. Everything. So, really unfortunate stuff for UniQ. And I guess we see that replay. Look how they all dropped to 1 HP. You can see the constant re-engage from both teams, battling it out. JCQ into a massive Kyrax Q. Unfortunately, I think he falls here, right?
I believe he does, yeah. Do you know what's really crazy about this is the fact that Pedersen was 6, so he had Wish. Imagine if Cly had 6. That actually could have been an ace. That Wild Growth would have been the difference, because Elise jumps in, Wild Growth, knock up, instant wipe. Like, absolute instant wipe. The survivability. Cly not being 6 was a little bit sad there, as Taxa may spot out Antwerp here on the Dragon. Is going to just rotate towards the bot lane. Will spot them out. And Antwerp playing this nice and safe for now. Throwing the cocoon over the wall. I think Taxa knows that this is going on. Needs to get the vision down as they do shock blast on. Taxa going around on the long flank, and I don't think he's going to be able to secure it in time. It is just going to have to step away, as they do look to jump towards Paul, but Paul is going to play it far back.
Yeah. Kevo tries to land that snipe with that laser beam, doesn't quite come in, and UniQ does secure that dragon. This is exactly what they need, right? They need to make something happen early because they do get outscaled by that Zeri Lulu, by that Jace poke, because that outrange is pretty nasty, despite having pretty decent engage to get onto that Jace. But then also the side lane, right? The big problem, in my opinion, is the side lane. Who's going to hold side lane, right? Akali's okay into Camille, but Nili has shown he's an absolute beast when it comes to side lane and just individual play. And then Cassante also can't hold side. So that's something that I'm a bit concerned about, right? Eventually the side lane win condition is going to come alive for Verdant. And how UniQ will handle that is the question.
Yeah, I think also the problem is just how accelerated Nili is going to be really rough for them. But for now, it's not really amounting into a too major problem. The gold lead is, you know, marginal. The actual individual kind of CS lead is marginal as well. So, you know, it's not the end of days for them at the moment, as it does look like UniQ are thinking about setting up onto this tower. And we're in the bush. They are going to be able to pick this plate up, and Kevo just doing his best to clear through the waves. The Chains of Corruption do come down. Kevo pops the ultimate as well. Pedersen's got Wish, so they're feeling comfortable. And where dashes forwards, Kevo, he could smell something was awry there.
Absolutely. I think they actually saw Antwer leave the bush momentarily, right? And I don't think Antwer realized that they saw it. So Kevo just kind of, you know, keeping them on their toes, pokes them out, ults to commit to make sure nothing is lost here. But I think this speaks to the draft, right? I feel like today, a big theme has been draft. UniQ's draft makes it really hard for Antwer to make plays, right? Yeah. There is zero setup from anyone barring a Varus ult. Right, that's it. That's your only engage to set up a Wukong gank, and Wukong wants to make action happen early. This is why I don't really like the Akali pick. I think you need some kind of setup, something better than the Akali to maybe facilitate the Wukong and actually make plays happen to accelerate your comp, which is sorely needed.
Well, it's definitely taken a bit of a slower backseat. You know, we've had our marginal moments for action, but it feels like today, honestly, being a lot slower pace than previous days. I mean, Aragon, all of our days have finished so early that, like, I'm left scratching my head, not knowing what to do with the rest of my afternoon, because our days have just been so fast. But today we've had, you know, we've had a way longer, like, kind of pace of the games. And, you know, I'm kind of here for it. I'm here to see these teams show us some improvement. As Taxa comes in, he lands that cocoon through the minions. Kyra gets the healing on, but he is low. The wish comes down, and he's able to just about survive. Oh, the laser beam coming in from Kevo.
And I don't think it's done yet. Errol's running down, and maybe they're going to look for a siege. Or maybe there's a counter gank, but I don't think that UniQ have the tools to maybe pull this off. Yes, they have the ultimates on the Wukong and the Akali, but that might not be enough. Peterson is chunked. And honestly, well played to Peterson there. He manages to out-heal all the damage whilst also simultaneously blocking the auto attacks coming from Kevo on that Zeri. In the end, he almost drops. Cyrax almost drops to that laser beam, but I think MVP there in that little play is Peterson.
Yeah, absolutely. Peterson having a fantastic little moment. As approaching that 15-minute mark, we are seeing some of these kind of item spikes come through. The Divine Sunder has been finished up for Nili. Nihus is a ways off. He did bypass and go for the ninjas. Obviously, I think it's understandable when you're playing into, you know, the extra item of Nili right now. So does go for that. The Eclipse has been finished up for Errol. Remember, doesn't give Omnivamp anymore as of this patch. They have a change the item. I believe it was this patch they removed the Omnivamp. And yeah, okay.
Divine.
Nihu's even giving the crab up.
Yeah.
That true damage is just filthy. How is Camille an okay? How is this champion still like this? Like, it's one of those champs where it's just like, what were they thinking?
I was about to comment on the fact that the Tabai I'm not a big fan of, right? The Tabai actually, oh my god, I think Antwiz.
Whoa, he's
there
chunked.
It goes. But yeah, on the note of the Tabai, Tabais don't block on hit, right? Which means they don't block the percentage health damage of a Divine Sunderer. So I actually don't really like the fact that he delayed his main item by going Tabais, because I don't think he gets that much value out of it into a Camille with Sheen items.
Well, and the true damage, yeah.
Yeah, that exactly. It's not just the true damage though, but like any Divine Sunderer procs, it's just not going to do anything. So I would much rather he just built towards his item earlier, you know, and he was on similar items. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't convert to anything. But he's back to lane. Still a good little tidbit to know. Maybe rush the Aegis next time and get to that. Not Aegis, sorry. Chain Vest, rather, and build that Frostfire later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we go. Big charge coming in. They don't actually have the wave to push with, unfortunately. So this tower will stand to the side of Verdant. UniQ. Unable to really find an opportunity off the back of that one. Dragon will be spawning up. Sorry, I say will be. It has spawned up. And Verdant are slower to the punch on the rotation over, but they are just strong enough that they can kind of bully their way in and just strong arm their way into this area. In comes the Spiderling, just gets a little bit of damage off. Taxa hasn't actually finished his item yet. Is just rocking the Hextech Alternator, and that Fiendish Codex is, oh my word,
Ooh.
that still hit him.
And we're seeing the power of this poke, right? Nilly actually dropped a wave there to make sure his team could walk into River, because that's how much they value the ability to be on the objective first and make sure they can poke the enemy team out.
Oh, good.
If they have to walk in, I don't think anything's going to happen. K'Sante is just a little bit too tanky, but if they have to walk into the poke of Varus and this sort of thing, because he has that Ghostblade build, right? That lethality build, they might take too much damage, so they bring down Nilly early, contest the wave, contest the vision. Look at all this vision control for the side of Verdant. There are almost 0 red wards here. Saying that, they are going to move in, try and contest it now.
Yeah, luckily, they are on the on some vision for the moment as Nihus just going to take a little bit of damage. Taxa actually in the wrong spot. Gets himself taken back. The silence is huge, and he is down. Absolutely clutch silence coming in from Pedersen. Kevo gets wild growth, and they do get the lockdown. Honestly, UniQ played that fight super well.
Yeah, Nihus finding that pass through the wall. Also, watch Paul, right? He's constantly finding these fights. Nihus!
That was low. That was scary. They're able to survive. They jump onto Kyra. In comes Lily onto the flank, but he doesn't have a team. They're going to have to get this dragon up.
What is going on? Paul on the flank there was really good, by the way, because it meant that they could not run any other way but back to the turret. And eventually, they managed to find Taxa with that Soraka silence, not able to repel and pull him to the wall and one-shot him. That was absolutely massive. But Nihu's stepping up in a big way. After I was saying he's been struggling in this split, he is stepping up versus Nile, who I posed as the potential best top in the league. This is the problem with the Camille into K'Sante matchup. Yes, in isolation, you counter the K'Sante as the Camille with a Divine Sunderer, but it's really hard to out-impact a K'Sante in a team fight, just because of the raw amount of CC he has, right? Yes, you can lock someone down, but still, K'Sante is just, it's a Season 13 champion, does quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shove coming in here for the side of Verdant. They are just going to be able to maybe take this tower, to be honest. I mean, remember, Zeri does quite a lot of damage with that non-Q auto. It's one of those things you do kind of forget. That does a lot of burst when it's charged up and is able to make quick work of that tower. Mid lane tower finally goes down, and I believe Verdant's mid tower themselves is actually fairly healthy, so they still have like a kind of strong bulwark in which they can hide behind. And Paul looking to see if maybe he can find an assassination off onto Errol. We'll see if it can happen.
Yeah, I think this is the only way that they find kills in the side lane. Like, they could potentially look for a dive if Errol does take a poor trade, but just death bushing in general, just trying to hope that he walks up. But this is typically why you see the blue trinket come out for the side of a Jace, because he doesn't like face checking anyone, right? He's like one of the few top laners, like ranged top laners generally when they're side laning, you get blue trinket so they don't have to check themselves, similar to how an AD carry would. And I expect him to pick one up if he hasn't already, and in turn not be killed by Paul. I think it's just really hard to be aggressive and make any plays outside of objectives, right? I feel like the teams both need reasons to go forward, because otherwise the disengage is too good. Like, you have Elise Repel, you have Lulu, you have Soraka. It's just too much. So I think we're in for a slow game around objectives. Every 5 minutes we might get a fight.
Yeah, definitely. A more, especially when you got these kind of pokey teams, but you've also got the Lulu and the Soraka, but they're going to jump in. Antwer, actually, an amazingly clutch Cyclone. And the shot blast got eaten by the solo minion. That was honestly a lot burnt there. I mean, like, shot blast, TP, not shot blast, sorry, TP and Zeri ultimate, which I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, you lost me as well. Just call it Blitzcrank ult.
Blitzcrank ult.
Pretty much the same thing.
Paul, actually, being potentially chased down here. Errol waiting for the opportunity to jump in. He's getting towards his tower. The speed up comes in. He gets the shuriken flip off. Just to dodge away on to the skies, and that is going to be it.
And that is exactly what we're saying, right? There's just too much disengage. Any kind of play you make is just going to be disengaged by the Lulu of the Soraka or the Wukong knockup or a TP. I will say that TP loss does hurt a little bit, right? For the next dragon, you are not going to have TP to be able to match on side. Nilly might recognize this and walk down earlier than the K'Sante, because K'Sante can't match, as he follows. He doesn't have the opportunity to just TP anymore. or he just keeps pushing on the side and then TP's down. That is definitely the big thing I'm looking at right now. The next Dragon fight, watch those TP flanks and just watch how Nihus has trouble following.
Looks like rotation coming in here from the side of Verdant, moving multiple people down towards this bot side. Pool is going to eat the shot blast. The cocoon goes a little bit wide. Now there's going to jump in. He tries to use the perfect execution, but he is perfectly executed. He jumps up. Down it wears. Oh, no way! Taxa goes down? That wish was so clutch.
Peterson coming in with the clutch wishes every single fight, saving his team and getting Paul the solo kill in the 1v3. I can't say solo kill. Supports go underrated in this league. Peterson, you played well. Damn, that Soraka pick coming in clutch like you said.
That was so clutch. So clutch.
Whew. Now, nothing going to happen more here. I believe Dragon's only a minute away. You can see the timer in the Dragon pit, but both teams definitely want to do something here. I believe both teams will probably think they're strong, right? Especially after UniQ make that play. They think, guys, we're an item. We have Proto Belt. You know, we just completed a second item for our Varus. Let's contest. Let's get our third Dragon, our soul point. And the exact same applies to Verdant. They think they're strong because they have a kill lead and they don't want to give soul point over to the side of UniQ. So I imagine what's going to happen is Nilly's going to split push here, and like that TP advantage we're talking about, look at how Nihus can't farm this wave. He just has to walk to make sure he's there in case there's a TP.
Oh. I actually feel like Nilly may not even rotate for this Dragon. The problem is it is Dragon number 3 for UniQ, but he might just sit in side lane for a bit. He's got TP, so looks like that might just be the answer. As a Pool
the engage
jumped onto. Kevo's got to pop the ultimate. Pool lands the Shuriken flip. They've got the wild growth. It's going to get used. Pool has used the perfect execution. He's still got that final dash. They're trying to land the shots onto him. Whoa. Oh my word, Pool! How does he keep getting away with it? Kevo chunked. Kyra just needs to land it. The slow's coming in. Kevo gets the shield off. He steals it away. He needs to dodge away on the arrow. He's able to do so as Antware now on the side, looking for the monkey bot. Can get the flash down. Kevo steals another shield. He tries to dash over the wall. Alcove Gaming, not going to be enough as Nilly being chunked out by the monkey. Taxa lands a little bit of damage. The shot blast coming in from Errol. But Paul, you were goddamn right, Aragon. This guy is stepping up. He is the shining light for his team right now.
Despite being 3 deaths down, now 4, he manages to find the solo winning gameplay. 1 versus 2 against his biggest counter in Lulu. He manages to find that pick, bursts someone I didn't expect, I didn't see coming, manages to turn around the entire game for his team, secure that soul point, and maybe even the win, potentially add that soul.
That was super clean by Paul. He is terrifying right now.
I love this guy, man. I love his name. His name is so Giga Chat, it's unbelievable. Did he just take his first name?
No.
And add 227?
No.
Not another
way. One. He's actually going to do it. He's going to chase forward and Taxus out.
Oh.
Can't land the Q. Paul is so good. What the hell?
I mean, he's just mechanical, right? He's so mechanical. If you take a look at his OPGG, right? Like solo queue doesn't accurately reflect completely in competitive, but his OPGG is stacked. I believe he was a challenger, German mid laner, and he plays all the high skill cap champions and has really good win rates on them. So that's why I was initially like, okay, this is a guy to keep an eye on, and he's just proving it every single game.
Oh, phenomenal. Well, for now, as we've hit that 25-minute mark, gold lead is currently pretty close, actually. Paul's done a good job to kind of put a band-aid on this game, which it felt like Verdant definitely had a larger amount of control over right now. And I do worry now, Paul's kind of unleashed. He's going to finish that Shadow Flame. I believe he actually might have it finished already. And he's just in a very, very comfortable position. On the other side, yeah, Kevo, strong, 3-0. But, I mean, like, Paul has just been able to deal with him every time. And we haven't really seen Nilly use the advantage he got early. I think that's the major thing right now. Like, he hasn't really been a major threat to anybody on the side of UniQ yet.
No, absolutely. And just on theme with what you're saying, the topic of like how well you use your gold, that's been brought up a lot. There's been like graphics made in the community of like how well people use their gold. And I've got to say, after this game, Paul has to be up there, right? He's 2-4, down a bunch of CS and gold. If you take a look at the overall golds for each person, he's down. Like, yeah, thank you, observers. 8.5k to almost over a K down, right? Yeah, he's finding these game-winning picks. despite the situation he's been put in by Verdant, he's still the MVP to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really big stuff coming in. That Spiderling walked past Kyra, by the way. That was so weird. The W literally just like it could have popped on Kyra. I know it doesn't matter because it's not gonna do that much damage, but like never seen that happen.
I didn't even notice.
It just picked Pedersen and chose violence. I mean, he has got Night Harvester, so it does do quite a lot of damage now. The Spiderling. It's one of those things about like Night Harvester and like the current version of Elise where you do go this Night Harvester build. It does a serious amount of damage. Like, I mean, Elise is always a very upfront burst champion. Like, her entire damage comes from, you know, well, just what she, like, her upfront burst. But Night Harvester just leans into that even more.
Exactly. In terms of gameplay, we are going to see some Baron starts. I'm really glad we're going to see something because we were just getting an ARAM, and I think with these compositions, ARAM isn't optimal because there's no way to engage. I think this is gone, you know. They take it so damn fast with this Zeri and this Jace.
Yeah,
it's just gone.
Clyde did wild growth himself, but gets the speed out, cocoons down, and Verdant, they just zip out of there. 1 minute 30 until the Cloud Drake comes down, and that is sold technically for the side of UniQ. Annoyingly for UniQ, you know, it's not as impactful as the previous card soul we had earlier on in the day. I feel like in this game in particular, yeah, Nihus can probably use it fairly well, and so can Pool, but like, they'd much rather a Hextech or Infernal Soul.
I'm kind of just wondering just what happened. Are we just going to accept the fact that Verdant just took a free Baron? Like, that was really interesting. They just caught them sleeping, and I guess UniQ didn't expect them to take it that fast. I guess when I look at it, I don't expect them to take it that fast either. Maybe the Spiderlings do more damage than I think. Maybe Jace does more damage than I think. But that was really surprising to me. Now with that Baron buff, with those extra combat stats, maybe they can contest this 4th dragon, secure that dragon, deny that soul, whilst also playing for split push with Nilly on that tier 2.
Yeah, you'd assume that they're going to try and contest this next one. I think at least being that much more faster is going to be scarier. Like I said, it's luckily for Verdant. Even if they do lose this soul, it's not going to be, put us into Sloss's entire health bar. It's not going to be, you know, the Infernal or the Hextech, because I feel like I feel Akali with that. And oh my word, Errol. I mean, Pedersen's basically out. Didn't he just flash? He did. Kevo's going to punish him here for this. They are chunked. They're going to have to give this one up. Taxes on for the chase. Nihu's losing a lot of HP, jumps into the middle of the team, and the Wish does nothing. That should be Dragon over to Verdant. Although
and you've got to wonder what that was. Nihu's just seemed like he was so frustrated that he wanted to engage because his whole team was poked out. He felt an urgency to engage before his team got poked out even more. But the reality is your engage on Cassante just isn't good. We pointed this out as a flaw of the team composition. There's just no engage outside of maybe a Varus ultimate, you know? It's really difficult. I guess you have flank opportunities, but they didn't find those. And instead, Nihus goes for a really scuffed engage forwards and gets punished for it.
Yeah. Heavily punished as well. Now with the Baron up, Verdant are just poking away. Pool has been spotted out. I want to see what... Okay, not so much to Pool. Those shots
was pretty tanky.
To Pedersen. I mean, that W, that was the hardest thing I've ever said.
A sentence and a half.
That is not okay. That is not an okay amount of damage, Errol.
You know, I haven't thought of Zeri as a poke champion for a long time, ever since they nerfed AP Zeri, which was just one-shotting everyone.
I hated it.
Now, with this accelerated Zeri building so much AD, the laser beams are really like on theme with the Jace composition now. I understand why they've drafted it. They can use the laser beams to poke alongside the Jace, I forgot the ability name, Shock Blast.
Shock Blast.
And just complete takeover fights. The second they poke out Peterson, the game is done because Peterson needs HP to heal people, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely the win condition of Verdant, and definitely they're seizing it.
He's going to need a Warmogs. Get that recovery.
Oh, 100%.
But I don't think the game's going to go late enough because like he's obviously building a separate item. You don't want to go Warmogs second.
I think they need Nihus to step up and start blocking some of this poke. It's really difficult, but I feel like that's their only win condition, to block the poke using Nihus.
I completely agree. As Pedersen is now playing behind his team, as he should. Watch this hit him. No. Oh, what? He died to Zerial.
He got deleted. I mean, absolutely deleted.
It does do like 600 damage, I think. Zerial does like a lot of AP damage, but damn. Shot
everything
Aerial.
stacked on top.
Oh my god, this is not okay.
I think they could end here, you know?
Just win. Yeah, I actually think that pick on the Kyra was enough. Like, maybe they do play it a little smarter. Maybe they do play it a little slower. It looks like that is going to be the game plan for Verdant. But man, this has been a incredibly slow-paced game, and you know, the tempo has been very controlled. Yeah, but it just hit a point where like Errol now just takes people out of the game with his shot blasts. He got another serrated on that base.
Yeah, it's the famous 3-item spike for Jace. The second he gets to Cyrilda's Eclipse Muramana, that's actually the win con of Jace. If you ask top laners when you want to get to, that is it. So it's showing, right? But yeah, that's serrated Dirk extra, and Taxa.
No.
If he face checks, no chance.
He just got either cocoon. I mean, like, Paul is dead.
He's trying.
That was optimistic, because Kyrex now getting chased down. Nilly is going to get himself in the ultimate of Antwerp. They do throw the Chains of Corruption down, but look on the backside, it actually is Errol getting himself 1v1 by Nihus, but maybe it's actually the other way around. Errol flashing the wall. Can he land this shot blast? That's going to be the great question. Misses it, unfortunately, onto Kyrex, but Verdant, I think they're into the base. They played it nice and controlled, and Paul, he was the glimmering hope for UniQ, but unfortunately, that was a bit of a mistake because he tried to find the kill onto Clay and pays the ultimate price. Pedersen jumped out, Kevo flashing forwards, and that is a killing spree for Nilly. 3-0-2. Watch for one last shot blast to send Pedersen back to the grey screen. Not going to be necessary. 33 minutes on the clock, and Verdant take the win.
And you've just got to wonder, who are making these calls? Why is the game so controlled? Is it the coach, right? I think it's honestly a symptom of having the coach being Tom Kick, right? Because last year he coached Riddle, and the team was the exact same. Granted, they also had Kevo, so maybe it's a Kevo effect, but you can tell. I feel like this is definitely like our macro-heavy, controlled team, maybe alongside Ruddy a little bit, but they were a bit shakier today. But definitely, every single game of Verdant just seems incredibly slow and controlled.
Yeah, really, really good stuff coming in from the side of Verdant. Put themselves to 4-3 going into tomorrow's games. I'm going to quickly ask you that now, though, before we get into the full breakdown. MVPs. Who do you think was the MVP? That's a hard one, isn't it? I feel like, honestly, Errol might be the one to take it. This Jace was just constantly chunking out Pedersen on the Soroka.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, there's an argument for that. I think it's either Kevo or Errol. Kevo also landed a bunch of poke and played pretty well in that game. There's not much to do as Zeri, I feel like, and the second Errol did get his spike, he did use it really well. So yeah, I'd agree with you. I'd go Errol.
Errol's MVP. There we go. That's more for the graphics team. We just needed that. Now we can talk about the game. All right, so that was just a very dominating game from Verdant. It was a very slow tempo game, and I think this is something we've seen a lot today. Is these games are way slower tempo. Like the teams are not kind of just mindlessly brawling, and we are seeing like almost like a character arc of the teams improving in their ability to take these fights, and you know, when they feel more confident, and not just because they feel like they have to fight.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They're all getting better, right? Of course, they're all getting better with time, but I also think it might be a symptom of the meta, because the amount of enchanter bot lanes with 0 setup, so it's really hard to set up kills, right? I think that's a really big problem. Not a problem, but it's a reason why the games are going so long. Mid lane is a lot of sit back and scale picks, right? You got your Azir, you got your Jaces, you don't really do much. Outside of maybe your level 6 compositions where you like vial in and one shot. But for the most part, there's clearly a lot of emphasis on scaling in this meta, and I think it's showing in the NLC.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I'm curious, you know, how other regions are going to be looking. Obviously, we haven't had that much time on this patch, so I'm curious how the meta kind of develops, because there were some pretty major changes. I mean, like the Uni being taken out, the change to all of the Grievous Wound items. They all got like, I mean, buffed and nerfed, like in the sense where like their component items are actually better than they were, but the full item at the end is not as good. So it's interesting because, you know, you saw different vibe builds. I'm wondering, you know, if it's just gonna be like Cleaver into tank instead of like the Chainsword into tank, because Chainsword was picked up because it was a very cost-efficient item, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the go-to now, especially since the Black Cleaver buffs. The item's pretty nuts, and Chainsword got nerfed a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. I think that's the meta. The one thing I'm really surprised by is the absence of early game bot lanes. Where are the Caitlyn's? Where are the Dravens? That's the biggest thing that's separating. That's separating the biggest separation between our league and like the higher tiers, I think.
I mean, Lucian Nami was completely absent today, and it was open the whole time. I know Nami got some nerfs, but it was like 5 damage off her E, and like I can't remember. I think her W also got like 5 damage. It was really not a big nerf. Anyway, I believe we have our interview standing by. I don't know who we got, so let's just bring them up. Hello.
Hello.
First of all, is it LOL XOT? How am I saying your name, mate?
It's Lozot, but that means whatever you prefer.
Lozot. I'll go Lozot for you. A bit of a slow game for you guys. It felt like a bit of a chokehold game. You know, how was that game? You know, obviously for you guys on that front there.
I think our draft generally wants to play it rather slow into the enemy team, but after we got on the back foot pretty early with the level 1 and the Herald, it was a bit unlucky. But I do feel like we had pretty good fights in the mid game at Dragon and could get a bit back from our lead, but it just like at some point we just couldn't play against this Jace and we got poked out too much.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I completely agree with you. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I view you guys as like a mid-table team who can be better. That's why it's really frustrating, because I see you pretty similar to Vania, right? What do you guys think you need to fix to climb that little bit higher? Because I really think you guys can do it. You know, I keep seeing glimmers of hope.
Yeah, it's a hard question to ask. I think we have some really good showing sometimes, also individually. I feel like, for example, this game Paul did some great outplays and we had some great fights, but then we just fail at basic things. Like we skip some scapes, we get too excited, and then we walk into uncontested territory, or we get a Nash, like we just let him Nash, and we don't notice it, and then we just get these games taken away from us, even though we are in winning positions at sometimes. So I feel like we just have to get a bit more consistent, and then we should be able to fight for a better place in the second half of the split.
Okay, so let's go on to a more positive note then. Like, from, you know, what you think you can improve on, what do you think you have improved on? Because, you know, I feel like every team has improved. Maybe not natives, but like every other team has improved across the whole split. You know, what do you think you guys have actually worked on, and what are you actually proud of across, you know, the first half of the split?
I think we are definitely a lot better in like playing together and playing on, especially in early on with our lanes, and how we can, like how our jungle plays with our mid lane and bot lane. I feel like Antvira did a great job in covering and playing around his lanes and helping them out. I feel like in the first games we played, we often just got overrun by our oppositions, and then the game was like at a 5k gold disadvantage and we couldn't play. And now we get in a lot more better positions early on.
Awesome. Well, you know, I think, you know, there has been growth, there has been improvement. It's obviously not the greatest and most desirable scoreline for you guys at the moment, but, you know, I have every faith. We still got, you know, a bit more time to make a recovery, and I look forward to seeing, you know, the growth over the last half of the split. So thank you very much for joining us for the interview, and we will speak to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. And I believe we have our winners interview. Am I wrong? Am I right? Hey, there we are.
Hey.
Taxa. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a bumpy game, but we got the win in the end, so that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fairly slow tempo game, and we've seen more and more teams today lean into this slower style. I mean, the big one was the Nord versus Riddle game. That was a behemoth game, went on for ages. I'm curious, do you think the meta has shifted in the way that, like, the game is now just a bit slower and you guys are playing slower? Or do you think it's purely teams are starting to understand the game and maybe not just butt heads as much?
I think teams are realizing that it's all about late game team fighting. It's pretty hard to snowball and efficiently win the game, like, fast. As soon as you get to like 3 items on the hyper carries, it's gonna be hard to win if you're playing early game comps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think the meta, it just comes down to team fighting, right? Like, the quality of team fighting, I feel like it's really obvious. I just wanted to say, though, Taxa, I've never talked to you before, but I've always wanted to tell you that you're amazing, solely because I swear we have like 100% win rate. Right? Like,
Wait,
every
really?
time we play together, I don't know if you noticed. Yeah, no, every single time you smurf. One time I did in you, but we still won in the end. But yeah, no, my question would be to you is, what do you think separates you guys from, like, being a top tier team like maybe not Ruddy, because Ruddy has shown weaknesses, but, you know, Nord and I blanked Riddle. What do you think separates you guys, and how can you, like, join them there?
I mean, I think we just need more time. We have to figure out our identity. We are getting in the right direction, but we have had a bit of a slump in these past 3 losses we had. So I think it's just about figuring out what we're good at, fixing all the small things. A lot of it is if you make one small mistake, then it's like a new mistake comes and a new one. It's like a chain effect. So yeah, it's about stopping up and just fixing it step by step.
I guess the kind of next question is where do you guys think you're going to be ending the split on? Because, we're at that point now. There's not actually that much time till playoffs. Realistically, where do you expect you guys to be ending the split?
I am just focusing on getting into playoffs, and then we will take it from there. I am expecting us to get to Masters. I'm hoping. So, yeah, we just work as hard as we can. Hopefully, we will get there.
Awesome. Well, I love the faith, mate. I hope we do see you make that run. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Taxa. It's been great speaking to you, and we'll speak to you later, all right?
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
That's it. 4 days, 4 games done. It's interesting because it felt like normally, like I was saying in that last game, it's like on previous days when me and you've casted together, it's like, oh wow, we're
instantly
done. I've still got my entire afternoon. Yeah. It's 9 o'clock now. There's been a lot slower paced games, but man, that game number 2 was absolutely killer. It was so much fun. We had some really, really good games today. And make sure you guys head over to Twitter, because if you head over there, you can actually put your votes in for our MVP. We took one MVP from each of the games, and you can vote for one of those four. I believe we have a graphics. I don't know. If not, I will read it out for you. No, we don't. Okay, so we had Shackle for Domino, we had Fire Rain for Riddle, Nash for Ruddy, and Errol for Verdant. Head over to the NLC Twitter, NLC LOL, and you can put your vote in for who you think your overall MVP was. Oh, we do! There we go.
Beautiful.
Look at that. Aragon, who is your overall MVP? Who did you
that's so don't do that to me. That's so difficult. I will say probably Shackle finding that. No,
Ooh.
Nash turning around the game on
Nash,
his own.
Man.
It
Yeah,
has to be Nash.
It has to be Nash. He was
Absolutely.
so clean. He was so goddamn clean.
Yeah.
Fire Rain played well. They were all. I mean, they're MVPs
Impossible.
for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a hard challenge, that one. Do we have tomorrow's matches? Let's see what that looks like, because I haven't looked at what we got coming up tomorrow. Graphics team, now. No, I get laughed at in my ear. All right, don't worry. I've got another graphic I can look at. Okay, so Wednesday at the moment, it's UniQ versus Ruddy is our first game. Then we got Nord versus Natives, Domino versus Verdant, and Veneer versus Riddle. Aragon, any of those games that you're exceptionally excited about?
Domino versus Verdant sounds interesting, right? Because I'm a really big fan of how the middle of the table's shaping up, and I think Domino can actually edge out over Verdant there, because Domino is another one of those teams that look like they could be really good, right? But they've had issues early on. So I definitely think that game, Domino versus Verdant for me.
I totally agree. I actually think, kind of just going back to that, they could be better than they look. I feel like our league is filled with a lot of teams who genuinely have a lot of core talent and are showing this diamond in the rough. They're just not polishing in time. I mean, we're on week 4. Regular season runs for 7 weeks. So after tomorrow, we got week 5, 6, and 7. So, we got 3 weeks left. And it feels like at this point, I want to see those teams really shine towards playoffs. Because otherwise, I do think we will just have a Riddle Nord finals with Ruddy coming third. I feel like at that point, it almost becomes too clear. I want to see this Domino, who actually challenged Riddle, actually win that game. I want to see these teams really step up. And I feel like they have every opportunity to. I really do feel like we got some really good teams. They just need to kind of get that little bit... They need to get that little bit further. It's hard to word. They just need to be better. Just be better. That's the best way I can word it. Anyway, I do believe that is us done, though. So make sure you do head over and give that vote on the Twitter over on NLC LOL for your MVP of the day. We'll be announcing that over there a little bit later as well. So make sure you do follow for that one. But from me and Aragon, thank you very much for joining us here for today's games. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place for day number 2 of week 4. And until then, good night, and we'll see you later.